Welcome back to the ND and Free podcast, brought to you by the Awareness Space Podcast Network. This is a podcast all about neurodivergence and is powered by you, the listener. We answer, discuss, and expand on your questions. Myself, Owen Morgan, and my team of co-hosts dive into all things ADHD, autism, and other neurotypes. We believe all NDers deserve to live a life free of the shame we may feel, free from the burden of trying to fit in, and free from the burnout caused from not honouring our needs. We are ND and Free. God, that was a much better intro than my last episode because we've already recorded, guys, for 40 minutes before this. I'm in full flow. So we are here with our first ever Q&A show with our female panel. I hate calling it male and female panel. I need to have a different name, but that's kind of where we're at. We'll get there. So this is a chance for all of you to have us dive into your questions, your experiences, and you giving us topics that we can discuss and things that you care about. So head over to our Patreon page. That's probably the best place. You get priority over there. So if you sign up there, it's free. There are some paid ones if you want to contribute. That's where you'll get priority. So if you're a patron, we will do your question. But feel free to message us on Instagram as well and TikTok, and we will put you in where we can. So go and check that out. So I'm back with my wonderful co-hosts. We have neurodivergent therapist and ADHD coach and training, Philippa Balazs, and neurodivergent assessor and speech and language therapist, Alice Cantwell. Welcome back to both of you. How are you feeling about this, Alice? Our first Q&A. Are you excited to dive into people's questions?
Yeah, I love it. Although I feel like when those questions come, I know we've got them, but my brain, hopefully it doesn't go to mush, but I am excited.
And for you, Philippa, obviously, you're a therapist. So you're used to, being there for people. But I guess you're not directly giving people the answers, are you? They're having to find their way, and you're holding the space for them, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm kind of curious to see, being put on the spot, what knowledge comes out, organically. Sometimes I prefer that in some ways rather than overthinking it and being too rehearsed. It's just, okay, let's just see what comes up. Let's see what my first response is to that.
I think it's really important for people to know, we're not here to give answers in the sense of I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to do and you're done. You're sending us a question and it actually creates a conversation, and hopefully the things that us free to talk about will be useful to the person that asked it in the first place. So we're not here to change lives. We're here just to provide some personal opinions and views and things that we've experienced too. So we're not guaranteeing anything, but we love all of you, and thank you so much for listening and supporting us. So we want to give back. So let's dive in, guys. Here we go. So we've already covered this one on the male panel, so to speak, but I thought I have to ask you two as well, because every single person involved in this ND and Free journey is our parents. So let's do it again. So Catherine on TikTok asks, how to parent neurodivergent children whilst battling your own neurodivergent symptoms. Often the needs of the parties are conflicting. I mean, this is the most logical question to start off this whole journey together, because this is a big thing, isn't it? Is that we've got our own stuff going on, whilst our child, who may also be neurodivergent, has got their stuff, and it could be clashes, and you're trying to comfort them, but you're getting dysregulated. And who comes first? Is it chicken and egg? Do you put the oxygen mask on first, or do you give it to your child? Really, really, really tricky stuff. So, Philippa, what are your thoughts here on how we can honour both parties? I think that's a good way to say it, actually.
Yeah, gosh, I know it's really, really tough. I think it's underestimated actually how hard parenting neurodivergent children is when you're neurodivergent, right? It's just a different ball game. So you're up against a whole different set of challenges sometimes. But I think for me, keeping it simple. Right, I have a tendency to overthink and overanalyze and overcomplicate and go way into the future and panic about things that haven't happened yet. But to remind myself of okay, what's happening right now in this moment that needs my attention, and what do I need to do right now? And a big part of that, I think, is I talk about co-regulation quite a lot. So I need co-regulating. That's when you have another person kind of by your side who helps you to regulate. And it's not because they're trying to fix you. It's just being in their presence brings a kind of calming thing to your nervous system. It's kind of okay. And children can send you out of your window of tolerance really fast, but they can also be a co-regulator. So, for example, depending on how old your child is, but if your child is kind of in the early years age, sitting down and doing some colouring together, I find that super regulating. That bilateral stimulation of the hand going left to right, it does something to my brain. It's kind of rhythmic, calming, and it's also really regulating for the child as well. So something that you can do together, even if it's 10-15 minutes, that just gets you both into a calmer space, telling your nervous system to stand down, that's age appropriate. That can really help. And again, we talked about it in the previous episode about finding those micro moments, and it could just be 5 minutes of you doing something quietly together where you get a moment for yourself. Just go, oh, I can breathe. So yeah, I guess that would be my little nugget there.
Yeah, and I agree. I think that, and this is something, and obviously I'm not neurotypical, so I don't know, but I think parenting is hard. There's no denying how hard parenting is. But I think that when elements of parenting, elements of your children's needs can dysregulate you, that's hard. That's hard to be in that, let alone those feelings of guilt and shame and guilt, I said guilt, that come up within that as well, and managing that. And I think it is of almost like mapping out, whether you do physically map this out or just in your head, of kind of what is it that they need when they're like this? What do I need? What are the things that kind of bring us back down? What are the things that bring us back up? And it is those small moments that often you don't have to do anything big and crazy and wonderful, go out, spend loads of money. It is thinking of what you've already got, what are already your daily routines, and how can we tweak those? Like, I now wake up 10 minutes before I usually did to listen to my calm app so that I am more regulated for my son. Because if I wake up and then I'm on this urgency, that nervous system is just go, go, go. That feeds into my little one Milo, and then he feeds off that. And even within this week, and I've started like this, it's just been so much more pleasant. And yes, I still have a battle of trying to get him dressed, but it's not as intense, and I'm not snapping at him. Then I'm not feeling guilty, and it's just more positive. And he's only 3. He is full of beans all the time. And it's like, well, okay, how should we do that? We spend lots of time outdoors because he loves that. It's not always practical because we live in the UK and it rains all the time. So I bought him a peanut ball, and he just sits and he jumps and he moves. And that's fantastic. And in our house, we're allowed to jump on sofas. We're allowed to jump on beds because it feels good and it's great. And actually, if we tried to stop that, I think that things would be intensified, and it's different for every household. But have a look of, well, actually, why isn't he allowed to jump on the sofa?
Yeah.
I mean, it might get a few dents in, but we bought it to sit on and to live in. And yes, we might have to remind him that at other people's house, we might have to ask if we can jump on your sofa, but that's fine. And I've tried to get into my inner child, and part of unmasking, but also part of that parenting thing of what brings me joy and regulation. And arts and crafts and creativity is part of that. But I'm like, right, but that's me as an adult, him as a 3-year-old, Play-Doh, of like making something, the sensory side of it as well. I like the repetitiveness of rolling it. He wants me to, it's amazing. And I just have a mat so I don't have to clear it up, and I scoop it all up and it's done. And I think moments like that are really important. And I think it is, everything is in that moment of what do I need? What do they need? And I actually, sometimes it's okay to need some time. And as long as it's safe, I'm going to go into the bathroom and I'm going to lock that door. I don't usually, because I just don't. But I am going to lock that door, and I'm going to sit and just have 5 minutes of nothing. And then I'm going to come back out. And in our household, we've done lots of switching out of kind of, even when he was a newborn, we did shifts of kind of feeding and things like that. But even if it's like, we need to tactic, we need to swap out because we all need a fresh face. I'm dysregulated, they're dysregulated. Again, that self-awareness of knowing when that is, of kind of, yeah, I'm snapping, I'm doing this, I get really irritable when I'm dysregulated, which doesn't feel nice for Milo. And it's knowing that. And as long as they are safe, okay, I'm just going to shut the door just for a minute. Okay, I'm going to put the TV on for him for a minute so that he's okay. Because I need that. And he needs me to need that, because then I'm going to be a better parent. So I think what you said before, Owen, of that oxygen mask, and I think it's so, who knows with the chicken or the egg, but I think as long as we have in our mind ourselves as well as them, then I think that that's important, and how we can combine those. Some days it doesn't go well and it goes to pot. Okay, well, what went wrong? Or I didn't have my 5 minutes before he woke up to do X, Y, Z. So that is really important. So I'm really going to prioritize doing that tomorrow and reflecting on that, because we're not always going to get it right, because no one does. We don't have that manual, because we're all so different.
Yeah, I think it's also thinking about what parent model are you operating from? Are you operating from a neurotypical framework where you're trying to be a neurotypical parent with the neurotypical rule book, which often doesn't work and doesn't apply? Or are you leaning into your own parent rule book where, you know what, you can say, do you know what? That doesn't matter in our house. That's okay. I don't care about that rule. Who cares, throwing away some of the kind of traditional parenting models which don't work for a lot of neurodivergent kids, and being okay with that and going, what battle do I actually need to fight today? Is it another 10 minutes on the iPad? Is that going to break everything? Probably not. Is it going to mean that my energy is expanded more than it needs to be if I fight that battle? And just thinking about energy again, is this going to take more energy to fight this, or can I let this be? What hill do I want to die on for this? And that can look like on the outside, like you're just letting your kids get away with murder. But actually what you're doing is it's self-preservation, which is good for everybody, in my view.
Yeah, thank you. And I think the key things come up with what you're talking about is this sense of regulation. It's always going to be about regulation. It's how regulate they feel, how regulate you feel, and the energy and the environment that creates. That's what it's always about. What helps regulate you when you're sat next to them? Is it fidget toys? Is it actually interacting with, doing stuff with them with the art? Or is it, what they need to regulate? So if they're whatever's happening and you're noticing and you're like, oh God, maybe, I know that they love this. And you hand it over to them. Yeah, do you want to have this? And like, oh yeah. And then they start playing with it. And that regulates them. So understand what regulates them, what regulates you. Once you have that sort of menu in place, those ingredients ready, it kind of sets you up for a bit more success. And I think, I'm not sure if I mentioned it in the last episode, but the transition thing is so important because it's one thing to the next, isn't it? We're very scheduled at our house. It's always the same. I think that does well for my partner's autism. See how in our household we do everything the same way essentially, and I think it's because both of them are with the ASD, and as Alice, I'm thinking of going for assessment as well. But we love a good schedule. Us lot, we do the same thing every day, and it works. It helps everyone feel regulated, and we all have the things that we do at those specific times, and we all try and have transitions. So I have to help him have a transition. He won't do it. Right, you're going from this to this. It's probably not important to have no loud noise or screen time in this period. What can we do? Should we play with our Hot Wheels cars? Should we build Lego? And it's really amazing. And it gets us hyper focused and in flow and all that kind of good stuff. And it's just knowing how to help them transition and you transition. Then hopefully everybody is going to get to the end of that day and into bed unscathed. But it does take a lot of energy, doesn't it, to even put that in place and stick to it, really. But I think transitions is another big one for sure.
And I think
Amazing stuff.
communication in all of that, of the fact that when we are dysregulated, when our children are dysregulated, language levels drop. So actually, are we being conscious of what we're saying and how we're saying it? Are we going, because that's not going in. Whereas in that moment, what do they need to hear? Do they need to hear or see it in a different way? Do they need to show you a picture? I've got a little whiteboard that I will do a now and next. And I think it's part of being a toddler anyway. It's kind of simple. This is what we need to do now. Then that's happening. Of that understanding, let's bring it back. Let's bring it right back down to real basic stuff. Or I'm going to hold up your shoe because we are putting shoes on. But we're going to take it right back down instead of we need to wear our shoes because blah, 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 blah. Communication in everything for us as well, of kind of take a breath and bring it down.
Yeah, it's like putting a story on top, isn't it? We had to do this because this is why we do this, and it's just not useful. All that extra words and language, too much to absorb. Um, I really like that. It's keeping it as simple as possible. Right, we're going to try and get those two questions done. Guys, we want to give you all as much love as possible in the time that we have. So we've got Jenny here on Instagram, and she says, I find I have a threshold for how long I can be around people, and I don't know how to tackle telling people that I need the space and for shorter time together. What are our thoughts there? So yeah, this sense of we use self-awareness, like we said last time, to discover how much interaction we can do before we start to feel it physically, in our body more than anything, as well as our brain. And I think what she's saying is, how do we articulate this to people? I think it's the hardest part, isn't it? You don't want them to feel offended or that you're trying to get away. So Philippa, what are your thoughts here? How can we kind of tell them, because it's right for us, but we feel bad about it, and the RSD and everything else in between. So what would be your advice there, do you think?
I would say, do we need to tell them? Do they need to know? What would be your motivation for telling them? What would you like to hear back? Because it might be that you're disappointed with the response you get, and it's not as supportive and understanding as we would hope. And then that taps into rejection and all the other things. So again, it's a very personal thing, but I don't personally disclose much to people about anything. I just make executive decisions about how much I can do, how much socializing I can do, when I can do it. Have I got a busy week? Can I fit? No, I can't fit that in there. It's going to have to be in 2 weeks' time. And maybe just kind of having a sort of a way or an exit for myself out of a situation when I'm feeling like it's too much. So knowing that I can put an end date in or a time, I'm going to go to that particular event. It's 3 hours, but I can leave after an hour if I want to, and I don't have to justify that to anyone. But I understand that if we don't want to offend people and we don't just want to disappear, and I think it depends on the audience, if I'm really honest. If you've got really supportive friends and family who would get it, then by all means, share that with them and just say, hey, you know what, I do get quite overstimulated by social interaction. And when I go, it's not because I'm disinterested. I just need a little bit of time to recover afterwards. I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed. But if your audience is not people that you know really well or people that you trust, then I think it's coming up with some kind of narrative which is acceptable for yourself to be able to remove, because it is okay to remove. It absolutely is okay. But just finding the version that you want to share with other people that feels safe ultimately.
Yeah. And I think, again, that radical acceptance fits into that of kind of really truly accepting that it is okay to do that. And I think that me, myself, Ellie, I over apologize for everything, but I don't have to. I tell people to be unapologetic, and every now and then I catch myself. I was like, I'm not going to say the S word. I'm not sorry, of kind of doing that. And I think sometimes as well, you might be pleasantly surprised. Like my close friends, we went to an event last year for a birthday. We went to it this year, and it was too much for me last year. I said, I really want to come because it's your birthday and you mean so much to me. I'm going to come for this amount of time and then I'm going to leave. And she's like, I'm just grateful that you're going to be there for however long. And I think sometimes it's like, oh, yeah, years ago, I would never, ever have dreamt of saying that. Whereas now I do say that, and I kind of pre-warn of like, well, I might only be there for an hour, but I'll be there. And I think again, it really is audience dependent. And I think work-wise, spending time with people, whether that's virtually or in person, my rule is if I say to myself, oh, I can squeeze you in, or I can squeeze that in, that's a no. No, don't have time. And I think looking at that of your calendar or however you plan things, of that buffer time, and I think of people don't know what you're doing. So if you feel like you can't explain that of, oh, sorry, well, I've got something on at 2, so I'm not going to manage that. And maybe then look forward for another day when you've got nothing else on. But you can create your own timelines of I'm only free between this and this, if that's all you feel comfortable with. And I think however much explanation, if you need to explain it, because I think you shouldn't have to justify your needs. I think we are, again, societal kind of that you have to explain yourself away. I think because we often try to justify it ourselves, because a lot of the time we've been trying to fit in with a neurotypical society, that we have to explain that this is why we're doing it. But you don't have to. And again, that takes time of kind of trusting yourself and understanding and valuing yourself that you don't have to, but you don't. And I think it's trial and error as well, of kind of what works, what doesn't, and managing that and knowing how long you can take and coming away, how did I feel, reflecting on that. And sometimes those boundaries, sometimes there are going to be negative responses. And that is really, really hard, but doesn't mean that it's wrong. It's hard for the other person with that boundary, but that boundary serves you. So I think it's really hard dealing with that rejection or that negative response, but it wasn't a wrong choice to make. And I think knowing that and understanding that is key as well. Again, giving yourself that compassion of, I'm really sorry that that's upset you, or that I can't stay for that amount of time, but this is what I really need to do to protect myself. And the more you do that, the more you advocate for your needs, the easier it gets. And it really does. But it is hard if it is a more negative response. And I think that's it as well. We can say all of this stuff that's helpful, but it's not denying that it can be really hard. And then you might be anxious about what they're going to say if they don't reply instantly. That is all, it is going to be there. But the more you do it, the less the noise is there. And actually, you're advocating for yourself, your life, in whatever way that looks.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And I think it's all circumstantial, isn't it? We don't know the context in this situation of the kind of people around you. Some people don't get it. Some people kind of understand it. Some people just need to hear you use the one symptomatic explanation. I've just been really stressed today and feeling a little bit, oh, do you mind if I go, whatever. They'll understand that more, won't they? You saying that is quite relatable. So I guess sometimes we do just have to, like water it down for them and take it down to this one symptom, and that's something that they can understand when it comes to like stress and things. But I think it's like we said in the last episode, well, about going into things prepared. So like I said with my school run, I know how to do it where it avoids minimal conversation. Just, hey, hi, how are you? Hi. I'm happy with that. I can do those lines, no problem. But I'm not going to stop walking when I say hi. So as I say hi, I'm still moving. So it's just knowing that, and maybe you can set up ways of your workplace. I don't know. Maybe there's some reasonable adjustments there where you're in a quieter part of the office, or I don't know. You just have to sort of like tap into what's on offer to you. But yeah, thank you, Jenny. That's a really, really good question, and we will try and tackle some of this stuff when we talk more about human interaction, I suppose. I'll do a few episodes on that, because that's a whole other thing. So our last question today is from Lisa on TikTok. So she says, I find my impulsivity really hard work to stop. Do you have any ways to help yourself if you're impulsive? Guys, this is an entire episode as well, so we will touch on this a little bit, but impulsivity. This one's very close to my heart. This is me as well. And the first thing in that sentence, which I notice, I used to use this word a lot, is stop. I try and remove the word stop because it creates resistance, and it creates something I'm trying to fight, and that puts me in sympathetic energy. So a lot of it can sometimes be wording. So if I know I'm quite impulsive with things, how can I tap into that moment and say, are you being impulsive because you're lacking something, or you're looking for something, be it dopamine or whatever? What else can I do in this moment, which is gorgeous, amazing, yummy, whatever, which is a healthier choice, especially if it's financially based and you're about to buy something? And I would say language is the first place to start there, and working with it, not against it. So yeah, Philippa, what are your thoughts there? As an amazing therapist, of course, I'm sure you have lots of things for this.
Yeah. Oh, impulsivity is a yeah, you're right. It's a massive topic. Could definitely do an entire series on it, actually. But I think what comes up for me is, what need is the impulsivity meeting? right? So is there, I sometimes in therapy I'll talk about like drivers and things that are driving behaviors, and understanding what's that iceberg. The impulsivity is that 10% that you can see, and then everything else, the 90%, is the stuff you can't see. So is it shame? Is it an unmet need? Is it dysregulation? Is it tiredness? Is it, there are so many things that could be driving the impulsivity. And I think until we have an awareness of that, it's quite hard. You're kind of firefighting, and that white knuckling of I'm trying not to be impulsive. Actually, I'm just kind of sitting on my hands, and that won't last too long, because ultimately there'll be an unmet need under that. And I know impulsivity is a part of the diagnostic criteria, I think, around ADHD, hyperactive ADHD. But I think that there's always a reason for it. And it might even just be something as like, it gives me a dopamine high. It gives me a rush. It gives me something. And I think when you work out what it is, what need it's meeting, it makes it a lot easier for you to go, oh, well, I know what that is doing now. I know what function that's serving, and I can make a choice. You might need to learn some skills around how you make that choice. You might need to learn to sit in a bit of discomfort. You might need to, kind of build systems around yourself to help you. But when you understand what need it's meeting, I think that's a game changer.
Yeah. And I think I fully agree with that. It's that need. And personally, my uncombined ADHD and my impulsivity is lots of impulsive spending. But then when I look at it, I'm like, well, I try to be really conscious about money, but then I'll go to a random shop and I'll spend £100. I'm like, why? Because I felt sad. Or recently, when I've had a kind of a really hard time, I've gone and ordered loads of stuff. It was filling that need, that loss that I felt that. And in that moment, I analysed that and I knew what I was doing. But in that instance, that impulsivity was okay for me because I needed to do that. And I think sometimes that's the thing of impulsivity. Yes, it can be really negative and it can be really hard. It can get you into situations that are really tough. But also, especially if you are ADHD, impulsivity is part of your brain, which is something that we don't need to fix. We can help it. And I think when you mentioned the dopamine, of having a dopamine menu of kind of little things, what fills you up, but having that as, they do it as like a snack, a starter, a main, and a dessert. So snack is something that is easily accessible, really quick, and a main meal is kind of, okay, it's going to take a bit longer. You're going to have to block some time off in your day, but that is going to give you a massive dopamine hit. And are we putting those dopamine elements in throughout our day? Again, preventative of what is building our dopamine up. I know that if I go for a 15-minute walk just round the village before I start my day, my dopamine levels are already higher. So then I am less likely to do things impulsively, to say things impulsively, to end up on Amazon and ordering stuff that I definitely don't need. And I think it's the same with sensory regulation. If we have a sensory diet of putting these sensory things in place, we can put dopamine stuff in place, because then, especially if it is coming from a dopamine side of things, but also it all affects impulsivity. If we're dysregulated sensory, emotionally, nervous system, dopamine, it's filling that need. So what are we doing in our everyday to fill ourselves up in these different ways so that it's not there? But I think of, again, self-awareness is definitely a buzzword of today, isn't it? Of aware that we're doing it. We might not be able to stop it in that moment, but we are aware, we can reflect. So why do you think I went and spent 200 quid on Amazon? Because it was a really hard day, or that was really bothering me, and I was just like, I couldn't stop myself. Okay, so what little things can we do tomorrow that might help that? How can we fill that cup up from first thing in the morning? Get that dopamine, feel regulated in whatever way that is, to prevent that. And it's not always going to work, especially your brains probably are impulsive if you are of the hyperactive, impulsive type of ADHD. But that is my brain, and that's okay. And I will work with it, and I'll try to do things that help it, because I can be impulsive, because sometimes that's the fun part of us that we'll just go and impulsively do something that's fun and amazing and brings so much joy. We don't want to get rid of that entirely because that is your brain and that is you. But we want to help with that impulsivity, that it's in the right environment, that it's not going to be detrimental to us. And I think just when we're aware of being it, and like you said, of filling that need, what is filling that need? Reflect afterwards, what kind of day it was, what was happening in the build-up of the week, the month that led to that instance of impulsivity.
Yeah, thank you. I think going back to the key word as well is if we're having to work with it and try and stop it happening, must be some sort of aftermath being caused by that, or something bad happens, or problematic issues and impacts your future self. So it's just knowing the difference between what are impulsive behaviors that are causing real issues in your life and which ones where it's allowed to flourish and happen, and you can put it in a container where you can, why not? You can get the sweet dopamine, but it's just knowing, yeah, it's values, isn't it? You know, if there's a value to the way you live, and the impulsivity stuff's getting in the way of that, and you're not living by your value, then that is problematic because it does affect who you are, your identity and self-worth and all that stuff. So I guess it's, yeah, knowing where to put it. So maybe I have some impulsive time, you know, later on I can have my impulsive session. And what does that look like? And I guess it probably won't involve loads of money or eating food that makes you unhealthy in the long term. So it's just, I don't know. It's interesting, isn't it? I'm fascinated by language and resistance, and how resistance causes suffering. And that's where a lot of our problems kick in. Not letting go and grasping and resisting. These are all things that we do, don't we? We want more than we have, and it causes suffering rather than the gratitude and being grateful for this moment. So a bit of mindfulness work in there, a bit of Buddhism as well, which can really help us. So yeah, I hope that was helpful, Lisa. If any of you want to carry on with that and adjust the question based on what we said, do that too. It's not a one and done. So just let us know. This podcast is in partnership with the following wonderful companies, services, and those who support those with neurodivergence. For neurodivergent assessments, visit boldmindsnd.com to explore Alice's services. For therapy for NDers, visit flourish-counselling.co.uk to see how Philippa can help you. For ADHD coaching and group coaching for ADHDers, visit leahccoaching.com to see how Leah can help you. To train as an ADHD coach with a fully accredited training course, visit barrettcoachingandtraining.com to find out how Esther and her team can help you. And for the highest quality and subtle magnet fidgets and other fidget tools, visit chillzones.co.uk. And if you use my code Owen15 at checkout, you'll receive 15% off your order. You'll find all the links in the episode description. Thank you to all our partners. We're going to finish with a little quiz just before we go. I'm obsessed with being a quiz master. Anybody at my workplace will tell you that. I'm obsessed with doing quizzes. I love it. I even went a quiz fitness class where it was a fitness class where I'd ask a question and it had an A and B. If you got it right, you didn't have to do as much intense exercise as if you got it wrong. So the more you got wrong, the harder the workout got. People loved it. It was super fun. So I'm not sure how you guys are with quizzes. I probably should have asked you if you even like them in the first place. But I just wanted to end with a bit of fun so people can have some fun and get to know your personalities in this kind of space as well. I think I need to do a podcast that's quiz-based, I think, just for myself, because I love it. So this is music, guys. I'm obsessed with my music. It helps regulate me on a daily basis. What is your music knowledge? Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Medium. Okay.
Depends what kind of genre you're talking about.
Okay, so the idea of this, guys, is a special interest. So anybody can send in a quiz. So if you're listening and you want to send in a quiz based on your special interest for 4 questions, we can do that too, which is super fun. And sometimes it gets linked to ND as well. And the last time we did it with the boys, it led us into this neurodivergent chat about the special interest. It was very cool. So based on time. So they're multiple choice, so don't worry. So I'll get you to say them out. So which genre of music do you feel or think would be my ultimate favorite? What helps me regulate the most? Is it rock? Is it house music? Is it metal? Or is it electronica? So you can shout out your answer and we'll go from there.
Electronica.
House.
House, Philippa, nice one. Yes, I love me some house, especially light disco-y stuff. Not light, but disco-y, more poppy type house. Absolutely love it. It sorts me out every time. So 1-0. Which boy band? I used to love boy bands when I was in my late teens. I didn't tell anybody. It wasn't cool, but loved it. So which boy band had the songs Girlfriend, Bye Bye Bye, and Dirty Pop? Was it Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, Five, or Blue?
NSYNC.
NSYNC.
Hey, I thought you guys might get that. Which song made you know straight away?
Bye bye bye.
Girlfriend, Bye Bye
Yeah.
Bye, and Dirty Pop.
Bye bye bye.
I mean, who else has a song called that? I mean, come on. Right, what word is missing from this song by Sophie Ellis Bextor? So it's something on the dance floor.
Murder. Oh,
Is it love on the dance floor, fire on the dance floor, or murder on the dance floor?
impulsively murder. Sorry.
We have live ND there, guys.
I already knew.
Live ND. Brilliant. Yeah, maybe this isn't the best audience for quizzes. So the last question is, who is the best-selling metal artists of all time? So the most best-selling metal group. Is it Metallica, Linkin Park, Iron Maiden, or Limp Bizkit? Who has sold the most?
Limp Bizkit.
What are you saying, Alice? Sorry.
Metallica.
Wow, yes, Metallica. Well done. 180 million. Very, very impressive.
Great.
So that's it. It's just a little bit of fun at the end. It makes me feel joyful as I finish up. So yeah, if you have any cool special interest quizzes at home, everyone, send them on in. And then I can have a go. Oh no, I can't, can I? Because I'll need the answers. I'll never get to have a go. Unless I get one of you two to do it.
We can do.
We can do that.
Yeah, that's fine. So that's it, guys. That is how our Q&A shows work. I hope you really enjoy them. I hope they're really, really helpful. And if you're not sending the questions, surely you're going to get something out of what we're talking about here today. But I just want to thank both of you for doing this. I'm really looking forward to the journey ahead for us, as well as friends, as we learn from all the things that we read out here today. So Alice, where can we find you online if we want to locate your services?
Of course. So I am on LinkedIn, Bold Minds ND, but also my personal Alice Cantwell, but mainly across Instagram and Facebook. TikTok, yeah, but not for communicating, and that's at Bold Minds ND. But main point is on our website, www.boldmindsnd.com.
Amazing stuff. Lovely. And Philippa?
Yes, you can find me on Instagram at flourish_with_Philippa. And you can find me on my website, which is flourish-counselling.co.uk.
Amazing stuff. Thank you so much. I'll put all the links in the show notes, and that will also include previous episodes you've done with me too. So if people want to hear your stories, they can click on those links as well. Basically, it's just hundreds of links below, guys. Go and check them out. There'll be stuff on there that can help you on your neurodivergent journey and ways to support us. So thank you for listening, and we'll see you in your next episode where I'll be back with Dan and Darren. We'll see you there. Thank you to everyone listening. We really hope these podcast episodes help you. And thank you so much to all of those that send us the questions. You can do that via DMs on our social media channels, or send an email over to us at ndandfree@gmail.com. You can also support the show by grabbing some of the ND and Free merch. We have hoodies, jumpers, t-shirts, beanies, tote bags, and more over on Shopify. Visit nd-free-store.myshopify.com. The links are in the show description.